If you feel like you might be addicted to your phone or to mindlessly scrolling, maybe you were meant to see this video, because I did a little experiment of my own this week because I felt like my phone usage and my mindlessly scrolling was becoming a problem for me and my mental health and my mind and my sanity. So I decided to stop scrolling for 1 week. And although it doesn't seem like much, and maybe I could have done the full hog and been like, I'm not going to use my phone, I'm not going to use social media, I feel like it's better to start smaller in smaller increments, because then you're more than likely to create better habits for yourself instead of going like all in and it becoming like too much. I'm not trying to push a narrative. I just want to have like an open conversation and hopefully spark some conversation if you're watching this and feel like maybe your phone usage is becoming a problem, you're addicted to scrolling, you're addicted to trying to distract yourself. And I just wanted to talk about my personal experience this week and be a bit self-indulgent and just honestly speak about it, because if there's one thing I've learned as I've been getting older is I'm never the only one going through something. And I've really found that like when I've been struggling with different personal problems in my life, going online and like YouTube, for instance, I'm always finding videos and things that have actually like really helped me and get a better perspective on things. And I've realized like I'm not alone. And maybe if you're feeling like that right now, maybe this video might be that for you. Essentially, this time last week, I was having like a full-on mental breakdown. I shouldn't laugh when I say that because it's not funny, but I was just like uncontrollably sobbing. I was so upset. I was so just sad, and I felt so like, I don't know, just really upset and really useless. And I was just sat and I was scrolling through TikTok and Instagram. I was comparing myself to other people. And I was just like, surely this is doing me harm more than I realized. Like, instead of it being like a distraction tool, I'm now using it as like self-sabotage. Some people can just use social media and it not affect them that badly, but I do think that like social media and mindlessly scrolling has a bigger effect on us than we might realize. And I definitely have found that this week because of how I'm feeling right now a week later, and how different I feel and how much better I feel, and how many like good things I've seen from just 1 week no scrolling. I keep doubting myself because I was toying with the idea of filming this and wondering if anybody would actually watch or care. But also, like I just said, I'm not an anomaly. Maybe other people do feel this way. Like I said, I was in a really bad place, and mainly my biggest issues are with TikTok. I'm not a huge social media user apart from TikTok. I occasionally post on Instagram. I occasionally like look on Instagram. When I was younger, I was obsessed with Instagram, but now it's TikTok for me is the biggest culprit in my aimlessly scrolling. I guess depending on how you look at the word doom scroll, I at the start of this week thought that I was just doom scrolling, but now that I've looked it up, I realize that like doom scrolling means you're like actively seeking out negative information, and that's not what I do. I was just scrolling for hours on end, going down different like rabbit holes about things that just were no interest to me. And I felt like my creativity was really lacking, and I felt like I was comparing myself and feeling like my life was just not great, even though I have a really beautiful, wonderful life and I should be very grateful. I just found like the constant comparing, the lack of creativity, the wasting time was just getting a bit much, and I was just feeling like a little shell of myself. And I'm assuming probably other people feel that way too, because it's a lot easier just to try and like distract yourself with social media and just scroll instead of like actually facing and dealing with the problem at hand. And I felt like I was not doing that at all, because for a life that I've always been really grateful and happy with, all of a sudden I just found myself being really unhappy. And there's no like major stress and anxieties about things in my life right now that are like really pressing. Like the biggest thing for me was that I was in a bad home environment, and then I moved back to live with my parents, and now everything's really nice and cushy and I'm really grateful and lucky. And then I just like started to try and find things to worry about, and as I was scrolling and comparing myself, and that just didn't used to be me as a person. I've never found myself like actively comparing myself to other people's lives and wishing that I had that, and being really self-conscious about the fact of like I don't have certain things that other people have. And yeah, I just like spiraled, I spun out, I crashed out, and yeah, I was like, I need to do something. So I was like, I'm just gonna try and see if I can just like stop scrolling for a week. Like, let me just see how that goes. And now I'm at the end of it, I'm really glad to say that I managed to do that, and I'm fine. So how I went about it, this sounds really silly, but I'll try to explain it as quickly and as best as I can. But I have two phones. So I have this phone, which is kind of old. I've had it for many years. It doesn't really work that well. And then I bought an upgraded version of this phone. It's like secondhand. What is it from like Gift Gaff, where you can buy like secondhand phones and they refurb them? So it's kind of like it was a used phone, I guess. So I bought that phone like a couple months ago, and I'm yet to swap the SIMs over because it gives me anxiety. Because I need to download all my new apps and banking, and it's really silly. But basically, I use my second phone as a content phone because the camera quality is better. So I use that for like TikTok and just taking photos and videos and stuff, my vlogs. And I just decided to delete TikTok from my main phone and keep it on my content phone because I still wanted to post on TikTok. Like, I started a TikTok account like a year ago and I just became obsessed with it. And I feel like I've done well so far. Like, I have to like post every single day because I want to feed the algorithm and I want to do well, and it's designed to be super addictive. So I just thought, like, if I just delete it off my main phone, I'll have less incentive to like go on there and mindlessly scroll. And it's worked. It worked so well. I'm really happy with it, and I've still been managing to like post on TikTok, but not just sit and scroll and like constantly obsess over the views and the likes and the followers, because that was becoming a big problem for me, where like I want the followers and the likes and I want to do well and I want to work with brands, but you need to keep uploading constantly. But it's just became like really unhealthy, and I was just like obsessed. I started to obsess over it, and it's so not good for me. But because I just posted, I went off it, didn't really think about that phone until I wanted to film more content. It actually worked super well. So like just deleting the app on my phone, I guess I couldn't really recommend to do that because not many people would have two phones for my reasonings, and I'm just being lazy and not swapping my SIM over. But that really has worked for me super well, and I'm really glad that I did that. And I think I'm just going to continue doing that because I just didn't have the urge to scroll, and it felt really, really good, and I was really happy. So that was like the main thing for me, as TikTok was a big thing because I just was becoming obsessed with it, and I just felt like I was just constantly worrying and thinking like, oh, are people liking it? Am I getting the views I want? But because I wasn't thinking and obsessing over it, all my content seemed to do better for some reason. I don't know why. I really don't know. I don't really understand the logistics of it, but it's been really helpful in that capacity. So on kind of like day 3, I decided to sit down and write about why I scroll. Like, what are the reasons for my scrolling? Because I feel like maybe if you think something's a problem, maybe you should write down why you think it's a problem, and then you can figure out and unpick how you can change that. So I wrote a few points down on why I scroll and some of the negative effects, and then we can talk about how I feel now and the positive effects of this week of no scrolling. So number 1 reason why I scroll: boredom. I like the hits of dopamine. I'm sure everybody can agree to this, although I also feel like I'm the type of person that doesn't really ever get that bored. Like, I feel like I'm always constantly able to fill my time, and I'm never really feeling that bored because I've always just been used to like being able to create things to do. Like, I always feel like I'm a child in that aspect, where like I can just play with anything, I can do something, I can crochet, I can write, I can paint, I can edit a video, I can film. Like, I'm always really good with that. Yeah, and then kind of linked to that also boredom, escapism, being unsatisfied with my own life, wanting to escape. And I remember in media in college, we learned about the reasons why we consume media, whether it be like film, TV, social media, music. And one of the reasons is for escapism. And escapism is a beautiful thing because we all live very stressful, busy lives, and sometimes we just want to escape, and that is totally fine. But then it becomes a problem if you are already unsatisfied with your own life and you're constantly consuming other things that fill that, and it's leaving space for like negative thoughts. And that's kind of like how I was feeling, because I was like consuming all of this stuff and trying to escape my own life. I wasn't focusing on like the present, and I wasn't focusing on, I think there's a saying of like, be where your feet are, and I wasn't doing that. I was just dreaming and wondering and wanting to escape my own work and social life and creativity, until it got to a point where like I felt like I didn't have a social life, I had no creativity, and I was just constantly daydreaming about things that I didn't even need, but I felt like I wanted because I saw other people have them and do them. Linked to that again, distraction. Mindlessly scrolling gives you something to do. It gives you something for your hands to do. Like, if you're bored, if there's a second where you're waiting for the bus, like, you're just going to be scrolling, and that's fine. But also, what else could you be doing in that time where you are scrolling? Like, you forget and it takes up so much time. And like one quick look on TikTok can end up in like a 4-5 hour doom scroll that like took up all this time where you could have been doing something else. And that's where I felt like it started to become a problem, where like I had all these things I wanted to do, and instead I was just scrolling mindlessly, consuming all of this stuff that I didn't need, didn't care about, and then it was just making me really sad, being uncomfortable, doing nothing. Like my hands always have to be moving, as you could probably see. And like that's why for me, I love crocheting, I love filming content, editing content, because my hands are moving, I've got things to do. Yeah, I don't tend to watch a lot of TV. I like watching YouTube videos, but I just felt like my capacity to be able to just sit down and watch something became non-existent because I was so used to consuming all this short form content. Like I found it really hard to just sit down and consume media and just being uncomfortable like in the silence, and just like being still started to become so much of a problem because I was trying to like escape my own thoughts and filling it with other things, that I was just like, I couldn't just be still with myself. Yeah, I think that's such a powerful thing to be able to do, is just to be able to like sit in silence, be comfortable in your own space on your own, and not feel like you have to like constantly be doing something and like consuming things, because it definitely has more of an effect on you than you think it does, in my experience anyway. Like it led me to have a crash out, and I can't imagine that it was like the only solely thing that made me feel really sad, but I think it was a build-up of it, of just constantly consuming and not doing anything else, that really led me to have that crash out. So I also wrote down some negative effects of scrolling, which kind of is all to do with why I scroll. Eats up all my free time, I want to buy everything, and I get really heavy negative thoughts. And I guess I kind of already touched upon those things, where like scrolling goes from like a couple seconds, like a couple hours. Something I didn't realize was the effect of my scrolling was I just wanted to buy everything all the time, because I'm always consuming things, and especially with TikTok, like it is designed for people to try and like sell you things, and maybe it didn't like intentionally start off with that way, but I know personally from like I've worked with brands on TikTok who send me things in like a gifted PR manner, and then it's my job to then make a TikTok and post about it to hopefully get other people to buy it. And that is just like a constant cycle. And obviously with like TikTok shop and other things like that and live streams, people are always trying to sell you stuff. And I felt that like I started to think that if I was buying things, I could buy myself into like a better life and a better mind space. And like you can buy all the things you want, but it's not going to make you happier. Like, and that's what I've been realizing. Like, it's nice to buy things sometimes if it's something that you want and you know you're going to use. And I talk about consciously consuming a lot on my channel. It's something that I'm definitely an advocate for. I'm definitely not perfect. Like, I try my best to buy secondhand thrifted things, but like sometimes it does get to me, and I like become so heavily influenced that I just want to buy things. And I was constantly just buying things that I saw on TikTok, Instagram, online, because I felt like I was being sold a dream. That sounds dramatic, but it kind of is true, where like I felt like I was trying to buy into the lifestyle of like, if I bought this thing, then all my problems would go away and I'd be happy. And maybe it does have that for like a split second, and then as the days go on, you go back to realizing like, I'm still the same person, my problems are still the same, I just have this like brand new shiny toy that I might become disinterested in a couple days. So that was kind of like a quick rundown of why I'm scrolling, negative effects. So now let's talk about some good things, about my biggest takeaways from this week. So number one, my urge to buy things went down completely, and I'm very grateful, and so is my bank account. Like I just said, I didn't quite realize how much I was being sold to. And when you stop scrolling and you're not using social media as much, you're not constantly being sold to. Like even on Instagram, you go on Instagram, there's ads. My targeted ads always get me. They're so good. They just know me. Like, and obviously that's what they're designed to do. Like with advertising, if you didn't know, like on the back end of it, when people create ads, you can like choose people to target, like different demographics. So if you follow certain people, if you like certain things, if you're subscribed to certain things, advertisers can like target you, and they know what you like and what you're more likely to buy. So like Instagram is a great like contender for that. Like if you go on your Instagram and your adverts, you think like, this is so weird that they know me so well. It's because that's what they're designed to do. They can see all your data and they know who you follow and they target you for those reasons. So like not using Instagram as much wasn't buying things. Again, with TikTok, no, I wasn't being sold to constantly, so I didn't feel the need to like buy things. And like without that, I'm just like living my life, not really caring, going about my day, not thinking about what other people have because I'm not looking for that. So that's been a really good thing, and something I didn't really link to the fact that I was like mindlessly scrolling. Was like my urge to buy things went down. So that's a really good thing. Number two, I wasn't comparing myself to other people because I didn't have anything to compare myself to, if that makes sense. And the age-old quote is, comparison is the thief of joy. And it's so true. Like, it's really difficult to not fall into the trap of comparison because people always post the good things on social media and like the things that are going well for them, and it's really hard to not think, oh, why am I not doing that? Why am I not achieving the goal? We're the same age, they're younger than me, how come they're doing this? How come they're going out? How do they have this money to spend things? But like, we're all on our own different paths, and that is so okay. But like, it's so easy to fall into the trap, and we wouldn't be humans if that didn't happen. Like, it happens all the time, whether we like believe it or not. It's really difficult to not compare, and we just have to keep remembering that like people only show the good parts on social media. People show the things they're proud of, and that's fine. You just take it with a pinch of salt. But yeah, like FOMO is real. FOMO is a big thing. We also don't know everybody to their core. Like, you see people online and they're doing all these fun things, they're spending money, they're going on trips, they've got all these friends and great family, but also like, you don't know if they're struggling with anything. They could be struggling deep down, they just choose not to show it. So I think that's really been helpful with me, because that was where like the start of my crash out was beginning to be, because I was like trying to compare myself to everybody else and just being sad that like, because I was feeling a bit uncomfortable with my own life, that I was just like looking at other people and thinking, oh, everyone's doing so well and I'm a bit sad because of it. Number 3, my creativity went up. Another reason why I wanted to stop scrolling this week, because I feel like if I were to describe myself, it would be as like a creative person, and I've always just had this need to create without sounding really obnoxious. I've been drawn to like creative things and making things, and I always want to make stuff, whether it be like sewing, crocheting, knitting, like, and I just found myself being very like lackluster, and just my creativity was shot. Like, I had nothing to inspire me and just like no interest in doing anything. But this week I've made a few things, I've crocheted a few things. I feel like I found my inspiration again, which has been really nice. It's something I missed, because that's a big part of who I am and what makes me happy. So like, not making things and not being creative was really difficult, but I feel like I'm back on the game now, and it's still hard because like creativity ebbs and flows all the time. So like, I'm really glad and happy that I've been able to like create again. So that feels good, and I'm very happy about that. So if you're someone who's a creative and you feel like you're not inspired, you're not creating anything, have you been using your phone too much? Maybe it's time to like cut back on the scrolling and see if you can become inspired again. Number 4, I slept better. Again, maybe it wasn't completely to do with that, but I can't help but feel like it was. I've been having quite bad sleep recently. I've not been sleeping all the way through. And I know they do say you should limit your screen time before you go to bed. And again, because I wasn't like constantly scrolling and watching things, I was sleeping really good. I feel really well rested. Like, I feel like I'm a completely different person to the person I was this time last week. I mean, last week I was also on my period, and I do kind of consider that to be a factor of maybe why my emotions were like super heightened, and I was just feeling all these things so strongly. But yeah, my sleep has improved in just a week, so that feels really good. And number 5, my attention span has gone up, and I can't really quite believe that just 1 week from not scrolling has already built my attention span back up. And I don't know if there's science to back any of this up. I wasn't properly documenting this was just a little personal experiment I wanted to do for myself. Yeah, I have felt like my attention span has gone up. I can actually like sit and watch a whole YouTube video, and I felt like really engaged. And before, like, I was just I'd start a YouTube video, watch a couple seconds, get bored and move on. And I felt like I was just like, because I think TikTok makes it so easy, and Instagram Reels, where you can just watch a couple seconds and scroll. It's so easy just to get used to doing that. And like, but yeah, those are kind of like the positives I found from just 7 days of no scroll. Again, I feel kind of like, I'm really nervous about filming this and posting it. I don't know if anyone's going to watch this, but I felt like I had to do it for me, and I just hope that maybe, like, I just wanted other people to maybe consider, if you're in like a bad place, mentally and you feel like you're like comparing yourself and you're having a lot of negative thoughts, have you tried maybe not scrolling for a bit? Like, I guess will relate to you if you have TikTok. Maybe if you don't have TikTok, maybe consider other options. But if you're feeling like you're spending a lot of time on your phone, even if it's on like other apps as well, if it's becoming a problem, maybe just kind of switch off for a bit, put your phone on do not disturb. I think this is a bigger conversation to even have really in general. I was just talking about a couple apps in my like personal experience, but I think there's probably a lot more to be said about this and a lot better conversations to be had with like actual evidence and actual statistics. But yeah, this was just a personal project that I wanted to just do a little stream of consciousness about, and in hopes of maybe sparking conversation about this topic, because yeah, I feel so much better. I'm really, really glad I did this, and I'm going to continue to do this because it just feels a lot better. And I'm kind of like annoyed that maybe I didn't see it before or realize how big of a problem just like scrolling could be, or like an app could be. And I feel like quite torn about it because I do really enjoy TikTok as an app, and all I really do is like post outfit videos. Like, it's really not that deep, but I've enjoyed that. Like, I've made like a community of people that I like to talk to and like to watch their content. But I think it's just about balance, and that's what I'm going to continue to strive for now, is just to have a more balanced relationship with social media, my phone, because yeah, it feels nice to just not be constantly checking it, constantly like worrying and seeing what other people are up to. I'm just focusing on myself. I'm just plodding along and just spending the time I was putting into myself instead, which I think is a good thing. And yeah, so I guess I'm going to finish this up here. I have no idea how long I've been talking for, but I appreciate you if you've watched all the way through. I know this is kind of different to my normal content, but something I'm passionate about and something that I just wanted to document for my own sake and maybe other people's sake. If you like this video, I'd love you to subscribe. If you want to, you don't have to. I mainly do like videos about fashion and vlogs and just like de-influencing in your mid-20s. And yeah, I appreciate you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you very soon. Bye.